Cassandra Reed adjusted her formal attire as she hurried through the gleaming corridors of the Interstellar Conference Center. As one of Earth's leading xenobiologists, she had attended countless diplomatic functions, but this one felt different. The Luminarians, a highly advanced species known for their bioluminescent skin and reserved nature, had finally agreed to share their medical knowledge with humanity. The conference hall buzzed with activity, its crystalline walls reflecting the soft glow of both human lighting and the natural luminescence of their alien guests. Cassandra's heart raced as she made her way to her designated seat, her data tablet clutched tightly against her chest. Her research on cross-species cellular regeneration had caught the attention of the Luminarian Science Council, earning her this coveted invitation. Dr. Reed, a melodious voice called out, stopping her in her tracks. She turned to find herself face-to-face with a Luminarian male, his skin emitting a gentle azure glow that seemed to pulse with his words. "I am Nixus, son of Ambassador Valera. Your work on cellular adaptation is fascinating." Cassandra struggled to maintain her professional composure. Nixus stood nearly 7 feet tall, his humanoid form graceful despite its unusual proportions. His eyes, like pools of liquid silver, studied her with unconcealed interest. "Thank you," she managed, grateful that her dark skin helped hide her flush. "I'm honored that the council found it worthy of discussion." "More than worthy," Nixus replied, his skin shifting to a deeper blue. "Though I must admit, my interest extends beyond the purely scientific." He gestured to an empty balcony overlooking the city. "Perhaps we could discuss your theories in a more private setting?" Warning bells should have rung in Cassandra's mind. Luminarians were known for their strict social protocols, and private meetings between unmated individuals were generally discouraged. Yet something in Nixus's manner, a hint of rebellion against those very protocols, intrigued her. The balcony offered a breathtaking view of New Geneva, Earth's first truly international city. Flying vehicles wove between buildings that combined human architecture with alien design elements, a testament to the growing cooperation between species. As they talked, Cassandra found herself drawn to Nixus's quick mind and unexpected humor, so different from the typical Luminarian reserve. "Your people believe that physical proximity leads to emotional attachment," Nixus observed, moving slightly closer. His bioluminescence had taken on a warm, golden hue that Cassandra had never seen before in their species. "An interesting theory, though perhaps not entirely scientific." "All theories deserve thorough testing," Cassandra replied, surprising herself with her boldness. "Though I'm sure your mother, the ambassador, might have other opinions on such research." Nixus's laugh was like chimes in a gentle breeze. "My mother is more surprising than you might think, Dr. Reed. In fact..." He paused as his communication device pulsed with an urgent message. His skin flickered with annoyance as he read it. "Speaking of my mother, she requests my immediate presence. But before I go..." He reached out, his long fingers almost but not quite touching her hand. "Would you consider joining us for dinner tomorrow evening? My mother specifically asked about you." Cassandra's scientific mind raced with questions. A private dinner with the ambassador's family? Such invitations were virtually unheard of. "I would be honored," she heard herself say, even as she wondered what she was getting herself into. "Excellent," Nixus's skin pulsed with pleasure. "Our transport will collect you at sunset." He bowed slightly, a gesture that combined Luminarian formality with a distinctly human flourish. "Until then, Dr. Reed." As she watched him leave, his tall form weaving gracefully through the crowd, Cassandra couldn't shake the feeling that she had just stepped onto a path that would change her life forever. She didn't know then how right she was, or that Ambassador Valera's dinner invitation would lead to revelations that would reshape the relationship between their species. Back in her apartment that evening, Cassandra researched Luminarian customs until her eyes burned. Their society was built on complex layers of protocol, with bioluminescent patterns serving as both communication and status indicators. Yet she had noticed something different in Nixus's patterns, something that wasn't documented in any of the official texts. Her communication device chimed with an incoming message. The formal dinner invitation glowed on her screen, the elegant script bearing Ambassador Valera's personal seal. But it was the handwritten note below that made her breath catch. Some boundaries are meant to be crossed, Dr. Reed. Come prepared for possibilities you never imagined. As she prepared for bed that night, Cassandra couldn't help but wonder what the ambassador meant. Were they truly interested in her research, or was there something more? The way Nixus had looked at her, his bioluminescence shifting to those unusual patterns. She fell asleep dreaming of silver eyes and golden light, unaware that tomorrow's dinner would reveal secrets that would change everything she thought she knew about the Luminarians, and about herself. The Luminarian transport vessel descended silently through the evening sky, its pearl-like surface reflecting the sunset in iridescent waves. Cassandra stood on her apartment's landing pad, her heart thundering in her chest. She had chosen a formal dress in deep burgundy, its subtle shimmer designed to complement rather than compete with Luminarian bioluminescence. The vessel's door melted away, revealing Nixus himself rather than the expected servant. His skin rippled with patterns of blue and gold as he took in her appearance. Dr. Reed, he breathed, extending his hand in the human gesture of greeting. You look radiant. The journey to the Luminarian embassy compound passed in comfortable conversation, though Cassandra noticed Nixus's skin occasionally flickering with colors she couldn't interpret. The compound itself rose from the ground like a living crystal, its transparent walls seeming to pulse with inner light. Ambassador Valera waited for them in what appeared to be a formal reception chamber. Unlike her son's azure tones, her bioluminescence shimmered in shades of violet and silver, marking her high status. She was taller than Nixus, her features more angular, but there was something in her silver eyes that spoke of warmth rather than the expected diplomatic reserve. Dr. Reed, Valera's voice carried musical undertones that made Cassandra's skin tingle. Your presence honors us. I've followed your research with great interest, particularly your theories about cellular resonance between species. As they moved to the dining area, Cassandra noticed subtle differences from the documented Luminarian protocols. The seating arrangement was more intimate than formal, and the food combined Earth and Luminarian cuisines in ways that suggested careful planning. You seem surprised, Valera observed, her skin shifting to patterns that reminded Cassandra of starlight on water. Perhaps you expected more rigidity from us? Your customs are well documented, Cassandra admitted, accepting a glass of what appeared to be a hybrid of earth wine and Luminarian nectar. Though I'm learning that documentation can be incomplete. Or deliberately misleading, Valera replied, earning a sharp look from Nixus. Oh, come now, my son. Dr. Reed has proven herself worthy of truth, has she not? The air in the room seemed to thicken with tension. Nixus's skin flickered rapidly through several patterns before settling on a deep, steady blue. Mother, perhaps this isn't the time. When better? Valera rose, her tall form suddenly imposing. Dr. Reed, what do you know about Luminarian reproduction? The question caught Cassandra off guard. Only what's in the official records. Your species reproduces through a form of energy transfer, requiring compatible bioluminescent patterns between partners. A convenient simplification, Valera's skin pulsed with something like amusement. The truth, Dr. Reed, is far more interesting. Our species is dying. Mother. Nixus stood abruptly, his skin flashing with alarm. She needs to know, Valera continued, her tone gentle but firm. Our population has been declining for centuries. The energy transfer method of reproduction has become increasingly inefficient. We need new patterns. New energy signatures. Her silver eyes fixed on Cassandra. Like those we've observed in humans. Cassandra's scientific mind raced ahead of her shock. The cellular regeneration research, you weren't just interested in medical applications. Your work proved what some of us had long suspected. Valera moved closer, her bioluminescence creating dancing patterns on Cassandra's skin. Human cellular energy patterns are remarkably compatible with ours. More compatible than our own people's patterns have become. Which is why you've been watching me. Cassandra turned to Nixus, understanding dawning. Your interest wasn't just professional or personal. My interest is entirely personal, Nixus countered, his skin flushing with colors that made Valera raise an eyebrow. The compatibility research came after we met. Indeed, Valera's tone carried a hint of satisfaction. My son's attraction to you was unexpected but fortuitous. It led us to discover something extraordinary. Your personal energy signature is more compatible with our species than any we've measured. The implication staggered Cassandra. You're suggesting that humans and luminarians could bond, reproduce, create a new future for both our species, Valera finished. Though of course, such possibilities would need to be explored carefully, with willing participants who share a genuine connection. The look she gave Nixus left no doubt about her meaning. Cassandra felt heat rise in her cheeks as she recalled their interaction on the balcony, the unusual patterns in his bioluminescence that she now realized might have been attraction. There are those among our people who fear change, Valera continued, her expression growing serious. Who would rather see our species fade away than evolve through connection with others? They cannot know what we've discovered. Not yet. Why tell me this? Cassandra asked, though part of her already knew the answer. Because, Dr. Reed, Valera's skin shimmered with multiple colors simultaneously, creating a breathtaking display. You've already begun to change us. My son's patterns have never been brighter than when he's with you. And because we need your help, not just as a scientist, but as someone who might be willing to prove that our species can have a future together. The weight of the moment settled around them like a tangible force. Cassandra looked at Nixus, saw the hope and fear warring in his silver eyes and the patterns of his skin. She thought about all the implications, all the boundaries this would cross. Some boundaries, she said softly, echoing Valera's note from the previous night, are meant to be crossed. In the days following the revelatory dinner, Cassandra found herself drawn deeper into the hidden world of luminarian politics. Her lab at the Interstellar Science Center became a sanctuary where she and Nixus could meet under the guise of official research collaboration, though their work was far more revolutionary than anyone suspected. The cellular resonance patterns are remarkable, Cassandra murmured, studying the holographic display showing the interaction between human and luminarian energy signatures. Nixus stood close behind her, his bioluminescence casting a soft blue glow over the data. It's as if our species were designed to complement each other. Perhaps we were, Nixus replied, his hand hovering near hers. When their fingers touched, the sensors in the lab registered a spike in energy readings. Though some would consider such thoughts heretical. Their moment of discovery was interrupted by the lab's security system. Ambassador Valera's transport has been attacked, the AI announced, its tone carefully modulated. Emergency protocols are in effect. They rushed to the medical center, finding Valera conscious but weakened, her usually brilliant bioluminescence dimmed to a faint flicker. The purists, she managed, her silver eyes finding Cassandra's. They know. The purist faction, as Cassandra learned, had existed among the luminarians for centuries, opposing any dilution of their species' traditional ways. The attack on Valera was just the beginning of their resistance to the possibility of human luminarian compatibility. They accessed my private research files, Valera explained once she had recovered enough to speak clearly. Her hospital room was secured with both human and luminarian technology. They know about the compatibility studies, about the potential for cross-species bonding. Then we should stop, Cassandra suggested, though the words pained her. If it's causing such danger. No, Nixus interrupted, his skin pulsing with determined patterns. Mother, show her. Valera's expression softened. With effort, she raised her hand, generating a holographic projection. "This is our population decline over the past millennium," she explained. "And this is the projected outcome if we continue without intervention." The numbers were stark, showing the luminarian species facing extinction within 5 generations. "The purists would rather we fade away with dignity than embrace change," Valera continued. "But there is no dignity in extinction, and no honor in refusing to evolve." A gentle chime announced another visitor. Dr. Raneth, the head of luminarian medical science, entered with an air of urgency. His usually pristine robes were disheveled, and his skin flickered with agitation. "The purists have called for an emergency session of the High Council," he announced. "They're demanding an immediate end to all human luminarian research collaboration. And—" He hesitated, his eyes moving between Nixus and Cassandra. "They're specifically calling for the deportation of all human scientists." "They can't do that," Nixus protested, his skin flashing with anger. "The collaboration treaties are subject to council approval," Raneth finished. "Which they believe they can obtain through fear and manipulation." Cassandra felt the weight of multiple silver-eyed gazes upon her. "What aren't you telling me?" "The purists have evidence," Raneth said carefully, "of unauthorized experiments. They claim we've been secretly testing human luminarian bonding possibilities without council approval." "But we haven't Cassandra began, then stopped as understanding dawned. Every touch, every moment of connection between her and Nixus had been generating data, proving the very compatibility that the purists feared. "Your mere existence threatens them," Valera said softly. "The natural harmony between you and my son, the potential it represents, it proves that their entire worldview is based on fear rather than fact." "The council session is scheduled for tomorrow," Raneth added. "They'll want both of you to testify." Nixus moved closer to Cassandra, his bioluminescence synchronizing with her natural energy field in a way that the medical sensors couldn't miss. "Then let them see," he said firmly. "Let them witness what's possible when we move beyond fear." "It could be dangerous," Valera warned, though her skin rippled with what looked like pride. "The purists won't give up their power easily." Cassandra thought about everything she'd learned, everything she'd felt since meeting Nixus. The connection between them wasn't just physical or emotional, it was a bridge between their species, a possibility that could ensure the survival of his people while enriching her own. "Some boundaries aren't just meant to be crossed," she said, reaching for Nixus's hand. Where their skin touched, both human and luminarian sensors registered a harmonic resonance that couldn't be denied. "They need to be erased entirely." As they prepared for the council session, Cassandra and Nixus worked through the night, compiling their research into an undeniable presentation. The data showed not just compatibility, but a synergy between their species that suggested a shared evolutionary path. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Nixus said as dawn approached, his skin glowing with patterns that Cassandra had learned meant love, "know that you've already changed our world. You've changed everything." Cassandra looked at their joined hands, at the way their energy signatures danced together in perfect harmony. "We've only just begun," she replied, knowing that tomorrow would either mark a new chapter in both their species' history, or end their dreams of unity forever. The Luminarian High Council chamber rose like a living cathedral, its crystalline walls pulsing with the combined bioluminescence of the assembled dignitaries. Cassandra stood beside Nixus at the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of hundreds of silver eyes upon them. The purist faction occupied the highest tier, their skin emanating harsh, cold light that spoke of their disdain. High Counselor Thaxon, leader of the purists, rose to his full height. His bioluminescence cast sharp shadows as he spoke. "We face an unprecedented threat to our species' purity," his voice resonated through the chamber. "These experiments, these unauthorized attempts at cross-species bonding, violate our most sacred laws." "What laws?" Nixus challenged, his skin flashing with controlled anger. "The laws of nature show us that adaptation is survival. Our own history teaches that isolation leads to stagnation. Cassandra stepped forward, activating the holographic display they had prepared. Your people are dying, she stated plainly, letting the data speak for itself. Not from external threats, but from an unwillingness to embrace change. The chamber erupted in murmurs as the population projections appeared above them. Thaxan's skin pulsed with dismissive patterns. We would rather face extinction with dignity than pollute our bloodline with human contamination. Dignity? Ambassador Valera's voice cut through the chaos. She stood at her medical hover platform, her weakened state making her words even more powerful. There is no dignity in choosing extinction when salvation stands before us. Look! She gestured to Nixus and Cassandra, and suddenly the chamber's sensitive instruments began registering the energy harmonics between them. Their natural resonance patterns displayed on every screen, showing a synchronization that even the most skeptical council member couldn't deny. This is not contamination, Valera continued. This is evolution. The next step in both our species' journey. Dr. Raneth stepped forward, adding his scientific authority to the discussion. We've analyzed the cellular resonance patterns extensively. The compatibility isn't just physical, it's a fundamental harmony at the quantum level. It's as if our species were always meant to find each other. Thaxan's skin flickered with rage. You speak of meant to be? Our ancestors fled their homeworld to preserve our purity. We will not surrender it now to these humans. Your ancestors fled war and destruction, Cassandra corrected, her research into Luminarian history proving valuable. They sought peace among the stars. And they found it, not through isolation, but through cooperation with other species. With humanity. The chamber's mood began to shift. Younger council members especially seemed moved by the evidence before them. Nixus seized the moment, his skin blazing with passionate colors that captivated everyone present. Look at us, he demanded. Really look. The harmony between myself and Cassandra isn't artificial. It's not an experiment gone wrong. It's proof that our species can do more than survive, we can thrive. Together. To demonstrate, he took Cassandra's hand. The chamber's instruments registered an immediate spike in harmonic resonance. Where their skin touched, Nixus's bioluminescence seemed to dance with Cassandra's natural energy field, creating patterns of extraordinary beauty. This is abomination. Thaxan declared, but his words lacked their previous force. More council members were showing signs of acceptance, their own bioluminescence shifting to patterns of consideration and hope. No, came a new voice. Elder Lasara, the oldest living luminarian and keeper of their deepest histories, emerged from her meditation chamber. Her ancient skin glowed with wisdom accumulated over centuries. This is prophecy fulfilled. The chamber fell silent as Lasara approached Cassandra and Nixus. Her withered hand reached out, touching their joined hands. Her skin burst into patterns so complex that even the most learned council members gasped in recognition. In our oldest records, Lasara revealed, there is mention of a time when our people would face a choice, evolve or fade away. The signs would be clear, a human whose energy sang in harmony with our own, and a love that defied our assumptions about separation and purity. Thaxan's protest died in his throat as Lasara's words resonated with ancient authority. The elder's skin pulsed with joy as she addressed the council. I have waited 3 centuries to see this day. The choice our ancestors spoke of is upon us. Will we choose fear, or will we choose hope? The chamber erupted in discussion, but the tide had turned. Even former supporters of the purist faction were showing signs of acceptance. Cassandra felt Nixus's hand tighten around hers as they watched history unfold before them. There will still be resistance, Valera murmured, moving closer to them. Change never comes easily, especially to a species as long-lived as ours. But it does come, Cassandra replied, watching as more council members' bioluminescence shifted to patterns of approval. Look at their light patterns, they're synchronizing, finding harmony in the possibility of change. The formal vote, when it came, was decisive. The council not only rejected the purists' demands but established a new commission to study and support human-luminarian cooperation. Thaxon and his hardline supporters left the chamber in protest, but their departure felt more like a liberation than a loss. As the chamber began to empty, Elder Lasara approached them one final time. "The path ahead will not be easy," she cautioned, her ancient eyes twinkling. "But the most worthwhile journeys never are. You have given our people something we had lost, hope." Nixus's skin glowed with patterns that Cassandra now recognized as love and determination. "Hope," he agreed, "and a future neither of our species could have imagined alone." 1 year after the historic council decision, the Luminarian Embassy gardens bloomed with a combination of earth flowers and bioluminescent plants, their colors shifting in harmony with the gathered crowd's emotional energy. The first official human-luminarian bonding ceremony was about to begin, and the air buzzed with anticipation. Cassandra stood before a mirror in the preparation chamber, her dress incorporating both human and luminarian design elements. The fabric seemed to capture and reflect light in ways that complemented luminarian bioluminescence, a testament to the growing cooperation between their species. "You look radiant," Ambassador Valera said, entering the chamber. Her own bioluminescence had fully recovered, now shining brighter than ever. "Though I suspect that has less to do with the dress and more to do with the harmony we can all see within you." The past year had brought remarkable changes. After the Council's decision, Cassandra and Nixus had worked together to establish the Interspecies Harmony Institute, where their groundbreaking research helped other human luminarian couples understand and develop their own resonance patterns. "The latest data from the fertility studies is extraordinary," Valera continued, helping Cassandra with her ceremonial sash. "Dr. Raneth believes we'll see the first human luminarian child within a generation. Your cellular compatibility research made it all possible." "Our research," Cassandra corrected, thinking of all the late nights she and Nixus had spent in the lab, their personal connection deepening their scientific understanding. "Though I doubt the purists will celebrate that milestone. The purists are finding themselves increasingly isolated," Valera smiled, her skin patterns showing satisfaction. "Even Thaxon's daughter has begun working with human scientists. Change comes, whether we resist it or not." The ceremony space had been designed to amplify the natural harmony between human and luminarian energy patterns. As Cassandra walked down the aisle, the gathered crowd's collective bioluminescence created aurora-like patterns in the air. Humans and luminarians sat together, their natural energy fields interacting in ways that would have been considered impossible just a year ago. Nixus waited at the ceremony platform, his skin radiating patterns of love and joy that needed no translation. Elder Lasara stood ready to perform the ceremony, her ancient wisdom having proven instrumental in helping both species understand their shared destiny. "We gather today," Lasara began, her voice carrying the weight of centuries, "not to witness the union of two individuals, but to celebrate the fulfillment of an ancient promise. Our ancestors spoke of a time when the boundaries between species would dissolve, when love would prove stronger than fear." As part of the ceremony, Cassandra and Nixus demonstrated their energy resonance, their combined patterns creating displays of such beauty that even the most stoic observers found themselves moved. The traditional luminarian bonding crystals, placed between them, absorbed and reflected their harmony, creating a permanent record of their union. "In your connection," Lasara continued, "we see the future. Not just for our species, but for all who dare to look beyond the limitations of their assumptions. The universe creates nothing without purpose. Your love is proof of this truth." The binding ritual combined elements from both cultures. As Nixus and Cassandra exchanged their vows, their energy patterns synchronized perfectly, creating new configurations that the ceremonial sensors had never recorded before. The crystals between them began to pulse with a light that matched their combined resonance. "The patterns," Dr. Raneth whispered excitedly to his colleagues. They're creating completely new harmonics. This could revolutionize our understanding of interspecies energy dynamics. The celebration that followed was a testament to how much had changed. Human music played alongside Luminarian light harmonies, creating an atmosphere of joyous fusion. Young Luminarians demonstrated their growing ability to synchronize with human energy patterns, while human children delighted in learning to interpret bioluminescent expressions. Later, in a quiet moment during the celebrations, Cassandra and Nixus stood in the embassy gardens, watching the two communities mingle with growing ease. Their resonance patterns had settled into a steady, peaceful harmony that seemed to influence everyone around them. "I never imagined," Nixus said, his skin glowing with contentment, "when I first saw you at that conference, that we would change the course of both our species. No more than I imagined a simple dinner invitation would lead to all this," Cassandra replied, thinking of that first evening in the embassy. "Your mother planned well." Actually, Valera's voice came from behind them, accompanied by her amused bioluminescence. "Even I couldn't have planned this perfectly. Some things are simply meant to be." The three of them watched as a young human scientist demonstrated cellular resonance principles to a group of fascinated Luminarian children, their natural energy patterns already showing signs of adaptation and harmony. "The first of many bridges," Cassandra observed, feeling Nixus's energy field pulse in agreement. Indeed, Elder Lasara joined them, her ancient eyes bright with joy. "Though perhaps bridge is the wrong word. You haven't merely connected our species, you've shown us that we were never truly separate. The barriers between us existed only in our minds." As the celebration continued around them, Cassandra and Nixus's combined bioluminescence created patterns that would be studied and admired for generations to come. Their union marked not just a personal milestone, but the beginning of a new era for both species. The dinner invitation that had started it all had led to more than just a revolution in interspecies relations. It had proven that love, in all its forms, had the power to overcome even the most deeply ingrained fears and prejudices. As human and Luminarian children played together under the starlit sky, their natural energy patterns already showing signs of harmonious evolution, the future seemed brighter than either species had ever imagined possible.